So we're going to learn about appropriation and what makes that different from imitations and copying in art. So what's the difference between copying something and being inspired by something? So the artwork we have here on the left is a painting of Medusa, and then you can see an artist that reinterpreted that painting on the right using leftover spaghetti and sauce on a plate. We see it sometimes in fashion. We have this woman here wearing this dress, and the designs on the dress mimic what we see in M.C. Escher's tessellation designs. Now, the problem with this artwork is it's a good study of the figure, and maybe this person made this drawing because they really love Eeyore, but remember, somebody designed Eeyore. Somebody chose the colors. So is that student actually just copying what someone else made? If nothing is original, then why not just steal shamelessly? Right? We can argue that nothing is actually original. Everything is inspired by something else, or it's an appropriation. So there's the differences between appropriation, imitation, and copying. Appropriation in art has a historical practice in art making. Many artists have appropriated parts of artwork that they like, often because they like what the artist is doing, or they like how those artworks relate to the new works that they are making. The artist is using a previously existing form in a new way. So they're just borrowing parts of the artwork to transform it into something new. There's a creative effort defined by the selection and use of materials, in that the artist is not just copying everything. They're just taking parts of the artwork that they appreciate. The end result is familiar, but it's a new creation. The purpose is for the artist's self-expression. As I said, maybe they feel the artist's work that they're copying speaks to what they do, and they would acknowledge that though. Often when an artist appropriates someone else's artwork, they acknowledge that. So the photograph here on the left, and then an artist reinterpreted that photograph into a sculpture on the right. This painting on the right is a reinterpretation of Frida Kahlo, but as a Lego figure. This sculpture here of the thinker has been reinterpreted for a car magazine. Now, copying in art, this is when it gets a little more complicated. So this is when the artist copies another existing artwork, like directly. It's not like they're changing up the colors, they're just copying what they see. But however, this is a common practice of learning techniques, right? How are you going to learn techniques in art? By just trying to make something totally new and original if you don't have the skills, right? You have to develop the skills, and copying allows you to do that. It's often part of a training to be an artist. You look at someone else's artwork and you copy what you see because you're trying to learn the techniques. The end result though is you're keeping the artwork for yourself. The artist is keeping it for themselves. They're not selling it because they know if they try to sell it, it's going to become a forgery. And that's when we get into legal issues. Now, imitation in art, this is when we have issues. This is when we have a forgery. The intent is to deceive the viewer. You are pretending that you made that artwork. The artwork that you made is trying to be the original. Again, the artist is not going to say, yes, I copied this person's work. They're going to say, no, this is my original work. Often we see famous artworks being imitated, and this is because they want to sell the artwork for big money. They're not going to copy some tiny little painting that they know they can't sell and that no one's going to buy. So the end result when we imitate in art is often we're trying to pass it as something that we made, thus so we can actually make money off of it. So the difference between appropriation and imitation is with appropriation, the artist is openly showing their authorship. They're making it known that they have appropriated parts of the artwork. Now, we do have copyright laws, and this is actually part of the Constitution. This is just to protect and to promote the progress of artwork and giving them rights to what they create. And unfortunately, sometimes we see this with even just illustrators, let's say, people that like to show their artwork on Instagram and social media. It's a great way to promote yourself. The bad side is that you make your artwork visible, and that means a company can potentially steal what you create. So this illustrator created these very cute drawings of a Boston Terrier. And then the artwork that we see here with the blue, these were actually printed on t-shirts by somebody else. So you can see how they copied, but they didn't actually give notice, they didn't give props to the original artist. It's all about the intent of the artist. Are you trying to just make a copy, or are you practicing the skills? And when we properly appropriate, we're giving the new artwork that we made a new meaning. And the artwork becomes transformed. So courts have said that a new artwork is not an infringement of copyright as long as the new work is considered transformative. An example here is a photograph that someone took of this police officer spraying these protesters with pepper spray, and then somebody reinterpreted that image as an internet meme, and so the guy is spraying pepper spray on top of the Declaration of Independence. So we're going to be looking at two case studies by these two different two-dimensional artists, Shepard Fairey and Andy Warhol. Who is Shepard Fairey? He is an American street artist who uses stencils and spray paint. He's actually founder of the Obey clothing line, which you sometimes can find in stores. He's a graphic designer. He's an illustrator. He is the artist that made the famous Obama Hope poster, which was actually used for the 2008 election, but he actually based the design of Obama on a photograph taken by Manny Garcia, who was an Associated Press photographer. The problem with this was Shepard Fairey actually faced a civil suit and a criminal lawsuit because Shepard Fairey actually lied about copying the photo. He claimed the use of the photo falls under the fair use rule, which means there are certain conditions that allow you to use the material, because the thing is, the photo of Obama was not making any money. It wasn't. So Shepard Fairey felt he can use that photo for his poster. Now, Andy Warhol, he was an American artist known for screen prints of popular imagery and people. He was associated with the pop art movement, and his artworks explored the relationship between advertisements, artistic expression, and celebrity culture. Pop art means like popular, things that are popular. So he would often use, he'd make screen prints of celebrity portraits, but he would use photographs that were already existing. So he was often appropriating their work. So one example of his appropriated artworks is called 32 Campbell's Soup Cans, which again are a screen print. And he's using this existing commercial images found in the media. But remember, somebody designed this can. They chose the font and the layout of everything on the can. So he borrowed the logo from the Campbell's Soup Cans, but he repurposed it by applying it to canvases and making screen prints. Actually, Andy Warhol had a pretty happy ending with this situation because the Campbell's Soup Company realized this was free publicity, which was a good thing. And they even sent Warhol some cases of their tomato soup to show gratitude. So for your project, which is called Mashup of Three, what is a mashup? It's a term used in music. It's when you're often blending two or more songs, usually overlaying each other. For example, so you can see in this example, the artist is overlaying different piano musics on top of each other. So you're going to explore the use of art appropriation by creating an original ceramic artwork that uses elements from three separate artworks, three separate artists, and then you're going to include your own original addition to this artwork. So something to keep in mind is you're finding parts of artworks that you like. Stick to things that interest you. So I have three examples here. I like the designs on this vase. I like this forms here for the eyes, and I like this design for the teeth. But it doesn't mean I'm going to copy the entire dog or the entire creature, because I need to add my own addition. What am I going to make out of this? So you're going to be doing some research on your Chromebook. You're going to be searching for ceramic artworks and artists. If you're stuck, you can use a list of websites provided by me in Canvas. And there are things you should be looking for. They should obviously be ceramic artworks, but notice the forms that the artist uses. Are the works functional or decorative? What about the subject matter? Does their artwork have a message? What about the surface textures, the colors, the methods of construction? Is the artwork glazed or is it painted? Your sculpture can be just one single sculpture, or it could consist of multiple pieces that are arranged together physically, or maybe they're just a set of objects that are displayed together. You have some options to finish your sculpture. You can either glaze it, or you can paint it with acrylic paint, or you can use both. Now, just something to keep in mind. Yes, you might find some artworks that look awesome and beautiful and you love what the artist does, but we cannot just recreate the firing technique or the method because it might require certain materials or clay or equipment that we just don't have.